Northwestern kitchen slash living room corner log 3. The device placed in the corner is the laser wall emitter placed there by Mother to stop the Roomba from escaping the kitchen slash living room and entering the corridor. Here is a demonstration of the device stopping the Roomba from leaving the room. Here is what happens when the device is not present. If you look closely at the top of the device, you'll notice there is dust deposited on the top. Since I was not present for the device's deployment by Mother, and the device has been in the corner for some time before I decided to make this corner log, due to these reasons, I am not entirely sure when the dust was deposited on the device, but I do have two theories. The first theory is that the device was already dusty when Mother deployed it, but this is unlikely because if Mother saw the dust, she would have cleaned it off. The second theory is that the dust was deposited after Mother deployed the device. Which theory is true will depend on two factors: whether or not Mother has good eyesight, and where the device was before it was deployed in the corner. The two possibilities for the device's prior locations are being stored in a drawer. Note the device in this image is not the device in question, it's a different one. And the second possibility is being deployed somewhere else in the house. In order to determine which theory is correct, I have created a table. Before I go through the combinations in the table, I have to address a few assumptions. The first assumption is that the device was cleaned before being put in the drawer. I am assuming Mother is the one that put the device away due to the fact that she usually puts away things, and also she cleans them before she puts them away, regardless to whether they are dusty or not. So her eyesight will not be a factor. The second assumption is that Mother deployed the device. The reason I am assuming Mother deployed the device is due to the fact that Mother prefers to deploy the device in the northwestern kitchen slash living room corner, while Father prefers to deploy the device north of the southwestern corridor corner. So, now that's out of the way, let's go through the possibilities. If the device was previously stored in a drawer, there would be no dust on it initially, regardless to Mother's eyesight. So theory 2 would be true. If Mother has bad eyesight and the device was previously deployed elsewhere, theory 1 will be true. If Mother has good eyesight and the device was previously deployed elsewhere, then theory 2 will be true. Assigning equal probability to all four combinations on the table, theory 2 is most likely because it fills up 3 combinations on the table. Here is what the corner looks like with the device removed, and now I'll be going through various details of the corner, along with looking at the items within it. Due to the device blocking the Roomba and Mother's vacuum, a lot of dust has built up in the corner. The red outline shows where the dust has been deposited. The blue outlines show where the dust concentrations are particularly high. Here is the corner from a lower angle. Since the dust is hard to see from this angle, here is the red outline. And here is the blue outlines for the regions with highly concentrated dust. Zooming in on surface 2, you can see that surface 2 is covered in spots. Let's look at this big one. This is what I used to take the following close-up pictures. The spot appears to be a white substance of chalk-like texture, possibly a paint splatter from surface 3 getting painted. Unfortunately, approximately half of the object was accidentally chipped off. In order to confirm that this object is the same object as the one shown previously, I shall draw your attention to the cluster of smaller dots next to the bigger one. You can see that they are roughly the same in both images, as well as both being on a black line. So since these objects are immobile and their surroundings are the same, they are the same object. So I haven't confused two different dots for the same dot. They are in fact the same dot. Now let's look at these smaller dots down here. As you can see, they are like the bigger dot but smaller, and there's more of them. Here's another image. Now I'll show you the dust in this region from a bird's eye view. When looking at the dust from above, you can see one big rock and a whole bunch of smaller rocks. Looking at the corner from this angle, we can see a lone human hair towering over the dust patch. This hair most likely belongs to Mother given its length and colour. This angle also provides a good look at this big dense dust pile. Moving over to the region of the corner near surface 3, in this side-by-side comparison you can see since corner log 1 a lot of dust has built up here. Now looking at surface 3 you can see an object that has been painted over, and over here you can see a region where the paint is thinner and less smooth. I will talk about this object later on in the corner log. Moving further out along surface 3, we come across this region. You can see in these two regions paint has been chipped off while something more interesting has happened in this region. This region, a bubble of air was trapped underneath the paint, and then after solidifying, the paint bubble was chipped open. Given that the edges of this unpainted region is smooth, I am guessing that for whatever reason the paint just did not stick to this region and it was never painted to begin with. Over here appears to be a patch where the paint was abraded. Over here appears to be more abrasion damage, but there is lines highlighted in black. These lines could possibly be the wood grain, but I'm not sure since they're not showing up in the other abrasion patch. There is also 3 large stains and a bump. There is also a smaller stain which could be the same substance as the 3 large stains. Zooming out and moving further in the corner, we can see 2 stains of what is probably the same substance as before, along with a solidified drop of paint. You can also see some patches of paint from surface 3 encroaching on surface 2. This patch in particular was covered in corner log 1. You can also see that surface 2's ledge has accumulated dust. Now let's go through various items that were found in the corner. First off, the rubber band fragment from corner log 1 is still here, and this object also will be covered later on. Before I get to the next object in the log, which is a dead bug, I have to correct a mistake I made in the previous logs. When trying to identify a bug, I will try to first determine if it is a fly by looking for halteres on the bug. I previously thought halteres were unique to flies, so in previous logs I used this to identify a bug as a fly. But halteres are not unique to flies, they're unique to the order Diptera, which flies are a part of. Mosquitoes and midges are also part of this order, as well as houseflies. Since this bug has halteres, which makes it a Diptera, and it's small, it's probably a midge because Wikipedia said midges are small flies. And I don't think it's a mosquito because it doesn't look like one. But then again, bugs are weird, so you never know. Next to the bug is another interesting object. Let's look at it under the microscope. Inspecting it close up reveals it's kinda sticky looking and it's got a whole bunch of stuff stuck to it. Next, let's look at this clump of dust. Let's start by examining this region of the dust clump. This white strand here looks like cat hair. To confirm that it is cat hair, I plucked some hair from Peanut, don't worry, she's fine. Here is Peanut's hair next to the white strand. Since they look the same, I'm assuming the white strand is another one of Peanut's hairs. Also, if you look in the background, you can see a weird material which could either be a skin flake or possibly a piece of plastic. Now I will focus on this area. You can see there is an object of similar material to the previous one shown, but in this one's case, due to the fact that it is more smooth, I am leaning towards it being plastic, more than it being skin. Now we're done with that object. Remember this object? Here it is under the microscope. It appears to be a piece of a dried up leaf. It also has these veins on it. I looked at another leaf under the microscope and it also had veins on it. Although the leaf and this object having similar veiny structures is not concrete evidence that the object is a leaf, it is pretty convincing. Next to this object, I found a small cube made out of a sticky white material. Here it is from another angle. From this angle, you can see it is not a perfect cube. Here is a 3D model to help you visualize its shape. The next object is a gliding seed. not a decapitated bug, although it looks like that. I will show you why I think it's a seed and not a bug. Here is a picture of a bug wing. As you can see, it's got a whole bunch of other structures and isn't just a simple clear membrane. Here is a picture of a gliding seed. As you can see, its wings are made out of a similar material to the wings on the object, so the object is probably a different species of gliding seed plant with smaller seeds. Note the previous 3 items were returned to the corner, but the gliding seed had one of its wings ripped off because I grabbed it too hard with the tweezers when returning it. Next, I stuck a piece of transparent tape to the ground. When the tape was removed and put under the microscope, many things could be seen, such as 4 small pebbles. There is also a red speck. Here is a zoomed in picture of it. I also found what looks like a skin flake, and that is the final interesting object I found on the sticky tape, so let's move on. I also found chunks of crumbly material. This was originally one object, but it fell apart when I was transporting it to the microscope. I also found this object, which looks like a gross chicken drumstick. Remember this object from earlier? Now let's talk about it. When looking at it under the microscope, my initial guess was that it is a flake of the black stuff on the end of a banana. So I looked at some of the black stuff from the banana to compare it, and although they are the same color, their textures differ. The mystery flake is covered in a bunch of small bumps, while the banana flake is creased and wrinkled. So these differences lead me to believe they are not the same material. Now let's look at this clump of fragments under the microscope. These fragments seem to be made out of 2 separate materials. Some of them are leaf fragments. I am assuming these fragments are leaves because they have similar veiny structures and texture to the leaves examined previously, while some of the fragments, like this one, have a completely different texture and no veiny structures. Although I highly doubt the mystery fragments are actually cooked lamb skin, they still remind me of cooked lamb skin. And that concludes the corner log.